So that can actually be one of the biggest manifestation portals that you're going to be able to utilize, and one of the biggest instruments that are going to take you from where you are to where you want to go. And I'm going to explain to you why. Here's the thing, debt is not good or bad in the same way as money is not good or bad. It just is, and it's how we utilize it that is going to determine if the consequences are going to be negative or positive in our lives. In my own situation, I always used that in a way that was beneficial to me, and the wealthiest people of the world actually use that. And I believe that the way in which society demonizes that is actually meant to keep us trapped. It's actually meant to keep us powerless, and it's actually meant to not allow us to move from where we are to where we want to go, because that's exactly how we use that when we want to be intentional and when we don't have the actual resources to move towards where we want to go. Because not all of us come from wealthy families, not all of us have a savings account to start our businesses and so on. And so inevitably we're going to need to use debt. If we start from the premise that debt is bad and we are bad for using it and it's only going to lead to a negative consequence, obviously we're going to reinforce that, and we are going to seek for that bias to be fulfilled. That's what we're going to realize that we are creating in our reality. However, when we decondition this word and when we decondition how we see debt, we are able to use it in the way in which wealthy people use it. I was actually seeing an article at some point that Adele bought a very expensive house and that she used a loan for the house, right? A mortgage. And everyone was shocked. And that's exactly what society does. We don't understand that. And as I said, we are misusing it, because if we would understand how to utilize it, and if we would understand that we can use it in powerful ways, everything would transform. When I was in my full-time job, I would never be able to save money. I would be trapped in the same cycle of paying the utilities, paying the rent, and then I would have exact money to eat and obviously to always find the best deals, even for food. And when I began wanting to co-create my reality with money, because that's how it started, I realized that I didn't know that much about money manifestation. I was still in an environment that wasn't allowing for that gap to be bridged. I wasn't in the space where I would be physically surrounded by people with an expansive money mindset. And so I had to put myself in virtual environments with people that knew more about money than I knew. And so I had to inevitably invest in the first course ever, which was a money course, and it was exactly $99 or $97. And that was the exact amount that I was having on my credit card, that was left on my credit card. When I invested in that, the immediate next day, because I invested from a powerful place, I didn't believe that that was going to be a bad investment. Like, I just was empowered, and that is the positive conditioning, to say it like that I had about that. And when I invested, the next day, I got my first client that paid me $99 for a session with me. And from that point on, I kept using that in a way that allowed me to build abundance, that allowed me to build an abundant mindset, that allowed me to bridge that gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, and also be an expansion for other people around me that probably sometimes also had the same view around that it's bad, that I shouldn't be using it, that I'm making a mistake, that I'm putting myself in risky situations. And that is the typical mentality that we have when we have been conditioned to play small, when we are conditioned to only take debt to go on vacation, which is not an actual investment in ourselves or in our future. It can be, obviously, if our energy is going to impact the way in which we make money. But if we're in a full-time job and if we take a 2 weeks vacation, it's probably not going to impact our ability to make money. And so I began, from that point onward, I began using that in this way. That was the first investment. Then I just quickly after that, in the following year, I believe, I invested in, yes, it was the following year when I invested $3,000. I got a new credit card with a different limit, and I invested $3,000 in my first program ever. That changed the whole trajectory of my business and of my life, because I was able to have support in a way that I never had support before. And obviously I paid that over time. And then in the next level, obviously I invested like over 6 figures in programs, sometimes with cash money, sometimes with debt, with like credit cards. And I always use that in a way in which I knew that it's going to actually make me money. So this is the trick in how we use that in ways that are going to be favorable and that are going to lead to positive consequences. It's very important to know that what we are investing on, it's obviously going to lead to a different consequence. If we're investing in, as I said, vacations over vacations, and we are in a full-time job and we just like are in that hamster wheel of we are getting the vacation to survive the 9 to 5, then obviously I don't think that that's going to lead to the most positive consequence, because the way in which wealthy people use that is to make more money. I use that in my own experience to invest in myself, because I am the face of my business. I am the CEO of my business. My energy, my capacity, my ability to be focused, my health, my everything is going to directly impact how much money I make in my business, how I show up in my business, and how fast my business grows. That's why everything, it was a clear value from the beginning that if I'm going to invest in myself, then that is going to directly make me more money. That's why I never invest in other places so far, because until now, what was the most powerful investment and what was the investment that was going to bring me the biggest return on investment was myself. My mind, my body, my health. And this is one example when taking a vacation, for example, directly impacted my business in a positive way as well. Because as I said, when your mind is your business, you're going to want to have your mind sharp. You're going to want to have that clarity. You're going to want to have that inspiration. And I know myself well enough to know that I get very, very inspired to create new things in like environments that nourish me. The biggest month ever was created when I was traveling, because as I said, that's how I function. So for me, that was a business investment, and that's how I see it, and that's how I continuously saw it and tested. But this is a way in which I got to know myself and a way in which I got to trust myself, because this is the thing with money, not trusting ourselves and taking action that is going to feel like it's self-betraying is going to continuously lead to this cycle where we are like, yes, I try to do what you're telling me. I try to use my credit card. Like, I'm also a coach. I try to use my credit card to get a vacation and feel like I have clarity and inspiration for my business. But if you haven't done the deep work so that you can have discipline to know that you're going to show up in your business afterwards, then it's just probably an excuse that you're using, and you're not at that place where you can use that in an empowered way. You have to do more work. You have to look at the places where you carry a lack of self-trust. You have to look at the places where you don't trust yourself with money. You have to look at the places where you don't trust yourself, or you don't have that discipline, and where you keep on saying that it's an investment in yourself, but it never leads in that place, right? It never leads in that way. This is a self-trust work, and it's deep work around self-worth, around self-sabotage even, because if we have patterns of self-sabotage, we can make the big investments and then not show up for ourselves, for our business, not have that devotion piece, that masculine trait that is going to help us cultivate the devotion muscle, where it's like, okay, it's fun, and I'm going at the beach, I'm resting because I've had, like, I don't feel like, for example, for me, if I notice that I'm at home and I want to create something, but I don't have the clarity, I don't have the, it just feels like I have a stagnation creativity wise. I usually move my body and I travel and I put myself, as I said, in beautiful environments. And based on my experience and based on the fact that my devotion muscle is so solid, I know that I'm going to go on vacation and I am going to generously share with people what I want to share, and that's going to blow up my business and so on. Because I have this devotion muscle, and also because I'm not doing my business from a place of disembodiment. A lot of people start their businesses because they feel like they should start their businesses, or because they think it's a good idea, or because they think it's a good way in which you can get to 10K or 100K, and then they don't realize that they're not necessarily aligned with their most authentic business model. And what's happening is that from that disembodiment, you're always going to feel like you don't know what to say, because it's not the environment, it's actually the fact that you are not connected with the soul of your business. And for me, my voice in my business was naturally activated without me planning to even for it to even turn into a business. So obviously that's what my soul wants to do. That's what I want to do. Like for me, the only condition to do this is for me to feel full and for me to feel like I have my cup full, and I just want to do it. And I've seen it over the years. Even when I was burned out and I was like, I don't want to work, I still missed work and I still wanted to work and I still wanted to connect with humans because it's a soul desire. So inevitably, when I support my channel, my vessel, my body, my mind, my soul, that ability to share is going to automatically come through me. It's not something that I'm thinking about, oh, I'm going at this like on this holiday, and then I think, oh my god, I don't want to be sharing with people, blah blah blah. Like that's not it. For me, it's always going to be kind of like a byproduct of me being okay in all areas. The fact that I want to be sharing my message, I want to be leading this work, and the only times when I don't lead this work is because I just feel depleted and I feel like I'm not prioritizing myself. So there's a difference here as well. But obviously we can use investments, we can use that in a way in which we get the support we want around the clarity that is going to save us time, so that we don't have to spend all of the time in trial and error, questioning, is this for me, is it not for me? And in all of that torture that I see a lot of new coaches being in, or even old coaches, that they're disembodied, they're not realizing, and they're forcing themselves to show up in ways that are very not aligned for them. That doesn't mean that you're not cut out for this job. It just means that you're doing it in a way that makes you drained, that doesn't recharge you. And this is how we use that. And obviously it's very important for you to have this discernment. That's what I'm talking about here. It's a discernment. But the discernment starts with you deconditioning how do you feel around that. Because for example, I began having credit cards. I'm feeling very aligned with credit cards, especially since in Romania, you can have the ones that have a 0 interest rate. So for example, I pay something now and I can choose to have a payment plan for the payment that I'm going to like pay back the credit card. And that payment plan can have a 0 interest fee, right? So, which is amazing. Those were the first types of debt that I chosen to credit card. And then when I quit my job, I got a loan which had an interest fee. Obviously it wasn't huge, but it was enough for me to feel like from the money that I was already making through my business, and that money is going to kind of like help me have a good start in my business when I just quit my job. So that felt aligned as well. However, when I got a house and I had to get a mortgage, that felt very misaligned for me. I never anticipated how that is going to feel like, because the thing is that sometimes you don't know until you know, and sometimes you just cannot anticipate how something is going to feel like. And what happened with the mortgage was that it made me realize that for me that only makes sense when I make money with it in the moment. And that's where I am right now. I know that when we have a wealth identity, we focus both on like the immediate return, but more so we focus on the long-term return on investment. For me, it still feels like the best investment is my brain. And so buying a house at this place didn't feel like something aligned. I am still at the place where, as I said, I still feel right now that I want to be focusing on my own development, because I am my business and I believe that my business could create way more than a house could create right now. So it's a very like strategic business decision, and it was a business decision to sell the house within like less than a year since I bought it, because I realized, wait, my brain is going to make way more money than this house is going to make. And for now it feels like another an extra threshold of responsibility that I feel like is actually constricting my ability to make money. I see my brain as a money maker because that's how it is especially when we have creative jobs. This doesn't mean that I am putting money first. If you know me, you know that I am very much about integrity, and I'm always going to tell you, if you're not meant for like to invest, if it's not a good place for you to invest and so on. But in terms of business decisions, I see my brain as a moneymaker, and I'm making decisions always to kind of like have the best return on investment through my brain at this point. I know this is going to change. I know I'm going to focus on long-term investment, but just because people tell me I should invest in the stock market, and I invested in the stock market, didn't feel aligned also, or in real estate, it still doesn't feel aligned for me right now. You're going to feel into what's aligned for you, what's true for you, what's easy for you. But if you're in the beginning of your journey, I would actually encourage you to learn how to use that with as little interest as possible, to invest in the things that are going to bring you some form of, not necessarily immediate money, because obviously it's not like I'm buying a program and I'm expecting my brain to like get smarter in 5 minutes. It's still a long-term investment, but it's going to bring me, first of all, a bigger return on investment, and second of all, way faster than a house, because the house is going to grow its value within years, decades, while my brain in just a few years could create way more than a house would, right? So that is how I see this, and I encourage you to have the discernment to see what feels aligned for you. As I said, for me, that only feels expansive when I use it with as little interest as possible, or I either choose as little interest as possible, or I either choose the ability to make like I don't know how you call that, to kind of like, if it's not a credit card, and if it's a personal needs loan, I believe that's how you call it, I at least make sure that you can reimburse it in advance. Like if I want to pay it off, I'm going to pay it off, because in Romania you can also have the types of credits where it's going to be like you have to pay a commission to pay it off, or it's going to be more complicated. So I always make sure that when I get a loan, I ask that in advance, how easy it is for me to reimburse it all in advance when I want to. So basically, for me, that is a way in which I get money from the future to invest in the things that are going to give me the biggest return on investment. In this case, my brain or my health, depending on what I'm focusing on, because my health is also important. Last year, for example, I didn't invest, like in 2022, I invested only in my brain. And I've learned so much that I actually got exhausted a bit, but that was okay. That's what I needed back then. And I invested like 6 figures in my education and in my brain. Last year, I invested mostly in my health, in me healing, not only burnout. I call it burnout because, you know, it's easier for people to understand, but it was a sort of, you know, that place where I felt like my body needed a lot of support and I didn't need to focus on working that much. So last year, I saw taking time off as me investing money in my body, and me investing not only money but resources, attention in my well-being, and in me not feeling so drained all the time. So basically in my body and my vessel. And this year, it's obviously a combination of all of them, as I am learning how to find my ground as a CEO that wants to grow this business, that wants to impact as many people as possible, but without feeling like my body is sacrificed in the way. So I'm going to then see, because this is going to get reevaluated at every level, I'm going to then see, okay, what makes sense for me to do if I want to, like, okay, I want the impact and the money. I want to support as many people as possible, but I don't want to burn out. And then I'm going to see, okay, what is going to be the investment here? Probably in support or whatever, in deeper support, people that are co-leading programs with me or whatever. I don't know that yet, but I'm always going and reevaluating things from the perspective of a CEO that knows that is able to position themselves in a very healthy way around investing. Because this is the thing, no one is born a CEO and no one is teaching us how to be entrepreneurs, and many times we have these inner child wounds and we start a business and we expect ourselves to be good at it, and we expect ourselves as a CEO to be the extension of ourselves as humans and in our personal life, and that's not it. We have different identities in every area of our lives, And as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, there is a different level of tough skin that needs to be cultivated, a different level of risk taking, a different level of tolerating uncertainty, a different level of strategic thinking around like what is an investment, and even the ability to understand what an investment is. I feel like so many people become coaches and entrepreneurs and artists, and they don't know what an investment actually looks like. They're like, yeah, but I cannot pay for this program. And like, when you choose to be a CEO, when you choose to be an entrepreneur, it's non-negotiable that you're going to have, I'm not saying about self-development programs necessarily, but you're going to have to invest in your knowledge. You don't know things, you're going to have to know them. So how are you going to bridge that gap? You can learn online, obviously, but that's going to take 100 million years. So what else could you be doing? You're going to actually need to invest something, not only money, resources. If, for example, some people go into mentorship so that they can collapse time. I wanted to move fast, so I was like, I'm going to invest in any program under the sun. Other people want to learn on their own. Then they're going to also, like, you know, accept that sometimes probably they're going to move slower. Everything in entrepreneurship comes with a price if we don't do it in the right way. If we don't embody the CEO identity and we are showing up from the child identity and we're like, I want the money now. How come she has the money? I see her online. She's doing the exact same as me. You don't know what people are doing behind the scenes. You don't know how many mentors they have. You don't know how much knowledge they have. I have knowledge in marketing. I've worked for so many years in marketing. I'm a content writer for like 10 years. I knew how to write content. I have been a psychologist, so I've started this career way before I've started an Instagram account. I had so many skills that helped me kind of be prepared. I'm not saying that I was good at personal branding. No one is, because personal branding is something that's very new to our generation, to this generation of online businesses that focus on the connection with the face of the business. So you're not, for example, you're not connected with the owner of Coca-Cola. You're not feeling like a soul connection with them when you buy. You can be connected with the mission and so on, but that's a whole different thing. However, when it comes to personal branding, there is a connection with the CEO of the business. Actually, there is such a deep connection that sometimes you forget that they are the CEO. You forget that they have a business. Even people come to our pages as therapists, coaches, and they forget that this is a business and there are rules, you know. When people ask for exceptions, when people want us to give things for free, they forget that we have taxes, we have accountants, we have things that we have to do, we have obligations, and those taxes, we cannot negotiate them. We cannot go to someone and be like, can you, at least in Romania, cannot be like, okay, can I not pay right now? That's not a possibility. And so that's why the rules are there. There is a heart-to-heart connection. There is that ability to connect with the CEO more than in like standard business models, because this standard business models are B2C, it's business to client. This one is very different because it's not even a business. It's not, you know, it doesn't feel like it's a business to client. You don't feel like you're talking to a business when you talk to me. It's a more personal type of approach, and that's why I'm saying that not a lot of people know it. I had to learn it on my own. I had to adapt the marketing strategies to this business model, because especially when you are a therapist or a coach, you cannot use any of the marketing strategies that people use in business to business models, because first of all, there is free will and people only come to therapy and coaching when they are ready. You cannot go and hunt people for wanting to be ready for therapy, because this is not only a service that's getting purchased, it's something that kind of like symbols a transformation. And that's why there is a benefit in this, because, you know, the cap to how much people want to grow is unlimited, and you can just be extremely abundant with this type of job in this format. But there's obviously that part where people can have more resistance to purchasing. People don't only purchase their favorite Coca-Cola, they purchase a transformation, and that transformation can come with some sort of resistance and all the things. So this is just a mini class on financial literacy from the lens of someone that has a personal brand. You obviously can apply to this in any industry. I'm sure it's going to relate in some way. The point is, you can use debt in a way that's positive. The wealthiest humans of the world are using it in this way. And usually what wealthy people are going to tell you is, why would I use my money when I can use the bank's money? If I have a credit card and I'm going to pay that with zero interest over time, why would I block right now $10,000 in cash for a program where I could block like the bank's money and I could pay that over time, right? Like, why would I do that with zero interest? Obviously, sometimes there is going to be interest, but you're going to see if the money that I invest right now has the potential of bringing me more than that interest that I'm losing. Because that was, for example, in the personal needs loan that I got when I quit my job. I believe it was somewhere around $7,000, the loan that I got, and obviously that I paid commission, and it was quite a bit, like the interest fee. However, my business that I built with that money generated multiple six figures in not the following year, the 2 years after that. So like you can add up things, and this is a business that is only going to grow bigger and bigger, and that has so much room to expand in all the ways in which I want it to expand. Is not dependent on many limitations. This business model truly feels unlimited because you can grow as much as you can and you want. So that is how I see it. If that interest is something that I'm paying for now, but it's going to allow me to make way more money than the interest in the future. And this is very important. The way in which I want you to see, as a CEO, we have to rise up out of this victim consciousness. We have to grow into adults, and we have, like, the standard that I have in my business for clients that are not business owners is different than the standard that I have for entrepreneurs and business owners. We cannot not understand investments. We cannot not understand risk taking. If being an entrepreneur would come with zero risk, everyone would do it. The reason why we are making money and the reason why some of us are not is because there is a risk. There is a risk that's involved. The risk taking is part of being an entrepreneur, and many times you're going to have to get used to that very fast, because no one told me when I got that loan that I'm going to be successful. The only thing here is that is going to completely change whether the risk taking is going to lead in a positive way or in a negative way, is whether or not you're going to use that investment to increase your chances for success. You're never going to have 100% chances of success, but the way in which I saw it was, okay, so I got this loan, what would make it less likely for me to succeed, for me to be in victimhood, for me to have a lot of trauma, for me to be convinced like I've been the queen of self-sabotage my whole life, for me to self-sabotage. Okay, I thought about that and I was like, what do I need in order to make this less likely to happen? Less likely, not zero likely, right? And I was like, I need to actually hire someone that is going to help me heal this trauma. That's what I've done. That's how my business exploded. This is not rocket science. If you understand that, even risk taking, when you reverse engineer it, it makes sense, and you can increase your likelihood to succeed through the way in which you use the money. It's going to completely change how you do things and how you see that. Because the thing is that, as I said, not all of us have savings. Not all of us come from wealthy families. People like me that don't come from wealthy families, don't have any culture of entrepreneurship, and need to learn, that don't have any ability to understand, okay, what's happening, to understand where they are stuck. Because this is the thing, I believe that in the self-development industry, everyone tries to kind of like prove that they know where they are stuck. 99% of my clients never know exactly why they are stuck. They tell me why they're stuck, but it's never the reason why they're actually stuck, exactly as it was for me. So you can map that out, you can create a plan, you can increase your likelihood to succeed, and you have all the ability to do so if you use that as that bridge between where you are and where you want to go. And if you become intentional, if you understand risk taking, and if you do risk taking from this place of empowerment, I can feel if someone is going to fail if they begin complaining about their investments before even taking them. If they send 100,000 mentorship forums, they never take the action. This is not to shame anyone. I just said that I'm holding entrepreneurs at a higher level because I've had to learn this, and I'm someone that is very much in victimhood. Like, my blueprint that I had before my business is victimhood. I know exactly how that feels. I know exactly that I could have been like that in my whole life, like for my whole life. But when I started my business, I remember telling myself continuously, Serena, you want to be doing this, you cannot risk messing it up. When I didn't like how I was like, or when I would get stuck, I would be like, I don't know how to send a newsletter. I was like, Serena, you cannot. You don't afford to throw tantrums at the universe and to be like this. You're going to watch a tutorial, you're going to get empowered around this. And that's how I've done everything. I'm human, I make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes, but you can learn how to use your circumstances for the better. And the best thing in Romania, I don't know how the thing is with the credit score in the US or in other parts of the world, but in Romania, the best thing around a full-time job is the fact that you can get loans. Like, when you're an entrepreneur, it's a bit more complicated, and it's calculated differently. It drops your credit score immensely. But when you're in a job, it's calculated by like the full length of that. But when you're in a full-time job, the best news is that you can have access to very good crediting options, and you can use that to create something better. But the only condition here is to actually use that money, not to, buy all the dresses that you wanted, unless you're going to want to be I don't know, to create a portfolio and you are a model. To use that to invest in what you believe is going to bring that return on investment. And if I were to begin it all again, I would get a full-time job. I would negotiate my salary for it to be the highest salary so that I can have the best credit score, because obviously your credit score here in Romania, it's dependent on how much like your salary is. I would stay in that job, I would get a credit, and then with that credit, I would actually start my business, and I would actually begin investing in ways that are going to bring me the biggest transformation, the biggest profit. As coaches, that's going to be, as I said, in your brains, in your skill. Stop investing in marketing when you, or in selling or in business coaching when you have trauma. You're going to have to address trauma. By the way, in my mentorship, you can address all of them at once, but I see a lot of people that are so obsessed on like how to sell, but they don't even have a solid body of work. They don't even know how to create actual transformation for their clients. When that's the case, when you want to be a coach and you don't have that, you have to secure that. And the way in which you have to secure that your process actually good is by doing your own healing. We are trying to find shortcuts. I promise you, the universe is not very forgiving, especially when we are healers, because our responsibility is massive, and it only became harder. If in the beginning when I started this, I could see people being disembodied here and there and like trying to use their like little mindset tricks to tell people what to be doing and would have success with that just because it sounded inspirational. Right now, that's no longer working. It's a new paradigm that's being created, and I want you to see it more so like it's a new era. We are always evolving. It doesn't have to be very sci-fi. It's a new era. We are evolving. We are moving forward. We are creating new ways of doing things. We're improving them. We're getting more connected with the soul, and obviously that means that everything that's not coming from the soul is going to have to come from the soul, or is going to be vanished. So this is also for you. If you have been in this process with your business where it worked, you were a bit disembodied, it worked before, now it no longer works, and you don't know why. It can be because you have been disembodied. You don't have a body of work that actually creates transformation. You're not actually embodied in the things that you teach. You're not actually embodied in some areas of your life. You're like teaching on money, you're embodied on money, but on relationships, you're like not doing your work. That can also be a reason why you're failing. Like, I feel like in this new paradigm, in this new evolution where everything is getting cleared and everything is getting clean, the universe took its notepad out and is like, who has actually done the lessons and who is not, and who is willing to do their lessons. The universe is also forgiving, but not 100 million times. It shook me many times. I also refused to do my work, but at some point I was so shaken that I was like, okay, I don't have time to waste. Again, another thing that I decided was going to be the best return on investment in my business was for me to learn my lessons faster. If I was having, for example, let's say a lesson on victimhood and clients, and like I would see, for example, in the beginning, I would feel very drawn into victimhood patterns. Obviously, the rescuer, the healer that feels like they have to rescue others, coming from a family that where I was the parentified child, feeling like I had to rescue my parents. Obviously, that I saw that with my clients. But guess what? A victimhood client would make me block other potential clients. And I would notice that after having an interaction where I felt like I had to save someone very fast, I didn't have many, maybe 2 in my whole experience or 3. When I would see that, when I would have that experience, or even when I would have it in the enrollment place, in the enrollment process, after that I would block clients. So obviously 1 + 1 = 2. And guess what? Felt like the biggest return on investment in my business, to heal the victimhood. Because if I wouldn't heal it, I would still be only with 1 client and I wouldn't have capacity for more, or I would have been quitting this job for like years for now. I didn't do that, and you always have to see this, because I'm teaching you here how to use that in a way that is going to allow you to create a thriving business and allow you to create to bridge that gap between where you are and where you want to go. And I'm also teaching you how to use that in a way that's going to bring you the best return on investment, as a way in which that is going to bring you the best ability to make money. And obviously I'm doing this in my coaching business. I'm going to give this example. As I said, use it in all the industries. Where do you feel like it's going to apply? No matter what you're going to start. If you're starting a business, you're going to have to invest. You're probably not going to have the money to invest unless you're coming from a wealthy family. And that's when you're going to have to use that. And you get to choose how you use that debt, how you integrate it, and how you make it feel more or less like a pressure. I feel like this comes also into, because I had positive conditioning around debt, which means I didn't see my parents being in debt early on. I didn't feel any negative association with that. I didn't fear, I didn't see that as something that could feel suffocating, and I didn't have that negative conditioning automatically imprinted. And kind of like from that neutrality, my own authentic meaning got anchored in very fast. Ever since I had that credit card, obviously up until, I used the last money on the credit card for the course, up until that point, it's obvious that I didn't use the money for my investment. For my like self-development. I don't know what I bought, but at some point I just found that authentic meaning, and I saw it like that ever since. I didn't have that negative association because I didn't carry trauma around it, but my clients have a harder time deconditioning that and also reconditioning it in a positive meaning, because they either saw tragedies happening with that, like, I don't have to tell them, either they have ancestral trauma around it. Things have happened to their ancestors and so on, where they borrowed money, because this is not only with the banks. People borrow things from one another that could have a negative consequence. When that is, what I usually do with my clients is to uncover why that feels so heavy for them and why it brings that survival response, which is very individual for every one of us. I'm going to intuitively feel into the root cause of that, into the root block of that, and we are going to clear it together so that you can begin having a neutral feeling around that, and so that you can then create your authentic meaning around it and know how to use it for good. I wouldn't be here for sure if I wouldn't have had those credit cards, that personal needs loan, and if I wouldn't have just like learned how to use that in an empowered way, and didn't make, like, when getting a loan with interest is the only possibility, I didn't make that a big deal in my system, and I just saw it as something very temporary. I don't want you to make your identity as someone that always has that in this like negative way, because obviously that you're going to want to get rid of that debt to get rid of the trauma that's associated with it. what I want you to know is that it's temporary, it's a choice. So it's very important for you to bring, like, trauma is about choicelessness. Usually that carries some sort of unhealed wounds, because people feel like it's about choicelessness. It's like, I can't, it traps me. It makes me feel like I cannot breathe. It makes me feel like I don't have a choice. I want you to see it as a choice. That's the best tip that I could give you. And I want you to see it as a choice to pay something over time in a way that's benefiting you, in a way that's a temporary investment in your health, in your mindset, in your business, in your ability to make money. Because if you're an entrepreneur, for example, in another industry, you can still invest in your health and feel like you're going to have more energy to take care of your business, if that's what you're being called. Obviously, if you're burned out, you can use that money, and if you had a successful business before, you can use that money to heal, and then you're going to know that you have the skills, everything is there, the business is there. It's just you that doesn't have the capacity right now, but you're investing in your well-being, and that is going to lead to positive results, and that is going to be a positive use of that debt. So this is a message specifically for people that want to use debt as a bridging gap between where they are and where they want to be, as a magical tool for manifestation, and as kind of like a portal, an instrument for creating the life they desire. I know it feels unreal that I'm saying this, but it's actually how a lot of people think. A lot of people with money. It's just that people are trapped in this empowerment through the fearful messaging. Even entrepreneurship is demonized many times, because if more people are entrepreneurs, more people are going to have their power with them. More people are going to uncover that they can achieve more than what society told them they can achieve. And as you know, a lot of the conditioning that's going around is meant to keep us trapped, disempowered, small, in the same cycle where we use debt in a way where we are just paying for vacations, and we are then paying it back the next year, and we only get out of it 2 weeks of joy. And that's not the way in which I chose to live, and that's not the way in which my clients choose to live. So I hope that this is going to support you. If it supports you, let me know below. I have a lot of programs right now. Rewiring Abundance is a program that I have on money. I have digital programs that are now not available, but I'm going to make them available soon. So you have ways in which you can go deeper. And obviously I have intensives, one-on-one intensives. Those are the places where you go if you want personalized support on your own blocks, around money, around debt, around anything that's related to deep healing, money, business. Like, this is my zone of genius. It's the intersection between business, creativity, money, marketing, sales. I've helped people from across industries increase their sales through this combination of intuition, deep healing, and strategy, because I feel like they need to be coming at the same time for you to be truly supported, because at different levels of your journey, you're going to need different things. And what I'm really good at is to identify exactly what you need, that's authentic to you, that's aligned to you, and that's going to create the best return on investment for your healing, because your healing can have the best return on investment, right? What is the path for you to get the most efficient results? I'm thinking like that. I've always been thinking about that, how to be efficient in my healing, in my business, in my money journey, in this, in that. Even when I was burnout, I was like, I have to sit my ass on this bed and I have to rest, because this is going to be the best return on investment in my business. I could track this burnout for 5 years, and it's going to create some horrible consequences that I'm not willing to accept. And you have the long-term mentorship, where we co-create a deep transformational journey around these topics that I shared. So I hope this serves you. I hope you're feeling supported. I hope it brings clarity. I hope it brings financial empowerment, and I hope you feel more like financially literate. I hope you feel like you understand money better, and you understand how people that make money think.